In 1920s England, amidst the fog-draped streets and soot-streaked chimneys of East London, lived a woman who, at first glance, appeared entirely unremarkable. Her name was Edith Jessie Thompson, a shop assistant turned housewife, middle-class, well-mannered, and seemingly content in a quiet, respectable neighborhood. She had no children, no fame, no scandal behind her. Her days moved with routine precision. She rose early, cleaned, cooked, read novels, smiled politely, and returned home each evening to her husband, Percy. But within just a few years, her name would ignite a national frenzy, printed in bold across the front pages of every newspaper in Britain. Edith was no longer just a housewife. She had become something more dangerous in the public eye. A woman in love. A woman who had betrayed. A woman who, according to a judge and jury, had not wielded a weapon but had killed with her words. Edith was not wicked. She was intelligent, emotionally intense, and deeply romantic. She craved passion, poetry, and the freedom to feel something beyond the stifling quiet of her domestic life. Her husband, Percy Thompson, was a strict and conservative man, emotionally distant, rigid in his expectations, and incapable of offering her the affection she so desperately needed. Their marriage was more arrangement than union, more routine than love. Edith withered beneath it. Then, in 1921, Frederick Bywaters entered her life. He was everything Percy wasn't. Young, passionate, full of fire, a naval officer, and a friend of her younger brother. He was barely 20 when they met, but age didn't matter. Something ignited between them, dangerous, electric, undeniable. Their relationship quickly turned into a clandestine affair, pulsing with urgency and imagination. They met in secret, took long walks in the dusk, and exchanged hundreds of letters. Letters drenched in longing, rage, fantasy, and occasionally, dark dreams. In these letters, Edith poured out her soul. She told Frederick how unhappy she was. She imagined a different life, a different world, one where Percy was no longer in the way. Sometimes, half playfully, half seriously, she spoke of Percy's death, of poisons, of accidents, of running away. The question that haunts history is this: were these the dramatic ramblings of a desperate, oppressed woman, or veiled instructions? On October 3, 1922, as Percy and Edith returned home from the theater, Frederick attacked Percy in the street, stabbing him to death. Within days, both he and Edith were arrested. Frederick quickly confessed to the killing, but insisted that Edith knew nothing of his plan, that he acted alone, in blind, jealous rage. But Edith's letters were waiting. In court, the prosecution didn't need a knife. They had her words. They read them aloud, hundreds of them, painting a picture of a dangerous, calculating woman who had seduced a younger man and lured him into murder. Edith wasn't judged solely for what she had done, but for what she had felt, for having desires, for breaking the mold of what a woman, a wife, should be. Her imagined crimes, her metaphors, fantasies, her poetic exaggerations became evidence. The courtroom turned on her, not because she killed, but because she dared to want something different. In an England where a woman's loyalty was sacred, her betrayal made her monstrous. The jury, with grim certainty, found both Frederick and Edith guilty of murder. And though Frederick had wielded the blade, Edith was sentenced to die beside him. She was only 29. While awaiting execution in Holloway Prison, Edith never stopped writing, but the tone of her letters changed. Gone were the playful visions and dreamy desires. Now, she wrote from a place of grief, fear, and fragile memory. She asked for forgiveness. She spoke of her dreams. She spoke of her mother. And always, she wrote to Frederick. With ink on prison paper, she clung to the only thing left untouched, her love for him. Her final letters are raw, poetic, and unbearably human. On January 9, 1923, Edith Thompson was hanged. Witnesses said she collapsed screaming before reaching the gallows, sedated and broken. The execution remains controversial to this day. Many believe she was punished not for murder, but for being a woman who dared to speak freely of love, sex, and rage. What follows is one of those last letters, a final breath of affection from a woman condemned by society, not for what she did, but for what she dreamed. A voice reaching out through time, soft yet powerful, speaking not to the court nor the public, but to the man she loved, the man who both awakened her heart and destroyed her life.
My darling Freddie, in this cold cell, where hope is but a memory, I write to you, my heart's only home. They have locked me away, accused me of a crime I did not commit, but they cannot chain my love for you. Every night, I see your face, your smile, the way you held me when the world was ours. My love for you is my strength, my defiance against this injustice. I know not if you will ever read these words, for the guards watch my every move, and this letter may be torn from me. But I must write, for you are all I have left. Our love was forbidden, a secret we kept from the world, but it was true, Freddie, truer than anything I have known. I dream of you, of a life we might have had, free from these bars. If I am to die, know that I die loving you. If I live, I will fight to be yours again. Let this letter be my vow. You are my heart, now and forever. Yours in love eternal, Edith Thompson.
After her arrest, Edith Thompson spent months in solitary confinement at Holloway Prison. In that cold, silent space, she waited each day uncertain if it would be her last. She was cut off from sunlight, from the noise of life, and from any sense of hope, but she still wrote letters to Frederick, words filled with longing, sorrow, and desperate love. Finally, on the morning of January 9, 1923, Edith and Frederick Bywaters were executed at Pentonville Prison. Edith's execution shocked British society. Some believed she was merely a victim of her emotions and fantasies, not an accomplice to murder. To many, she was a manipulative woman who had lured a younger man into committing a brutal crime. But others, journalists, writers, and members of the public saw her as something else. A lonely, passionate woman punished not for what she did, but for what she felt and wrote. Her letters, raw and emotional, became both her confession and her noose. From a psychological perspective, Edith embodied a mind torn between reality and escape. Trapped in a loveless marriage, yearning to be seen, desired, and cherished, she created a mental world far more vibrant than her actual life. Her letters were likely never plans for murder, but expressions of pain, desperation, and fantasy. Yet in the real world, such words have consequences, and her inner escape led to very real tragedy. Frederick Bywaters, too, can be seen as a tragic figure, a young man who believed in love to the point of delusion. His crime was violent, but his motive, in his mind, was love and liberation. He wanted to save Edith, but failed to see that real love does not destroy. In today's world, a case like this might be viewed differently. Psychologists, criminologists, and modern legal systems often distinguish between fantasy and intent, between emotional outbursts and criminal acts. Society, too, has grown more aware of the emotional complexities behind betrayal, longing, and forbidden love. These things may still hurt, but they are not always crimes. Still, stories like Edith and Frederick's force us to ask uncomfortable questions. Are we responsible for the darkest things we write in moments of pain? Can a dream shared in secret be judged like a deed? At what point does justice listen to the heart, and at what point must it turn away? Edith and Frederick are long gone, but their letters, their silence, and their tragedy still echo through time, reminding us how narrow the space can be between love and ruin. Sometimes, all it takes is a few lines written in the dark,